Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Chelsea Stevenson, and I'm here today with Father Joe of St. Patrick's Church in Lexington. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you, and I'm delighted to be with you.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you. I wanted to start by asking you a few questions about Pope Benedict XVI's resignation, since it just happened. I think it was official at 2 o'clock today, so very recently. What are your initial thoughts on it?
The initial thoughts are, I'm sad, but I'm also happy for the man. When the initial word came out a couple weeks ago, I think I, along with other Catholics and non-Catholics, were completely surprised because it's something you learn in parochial school or in church history that rarely does the Pope resign or step down. So I was initially surprised and dismayed. But over the last couple weeks, I've grown to understand where he's coming from. This gentleman is 85 years old.
It's quite old.
Yes, and he's going to be 86, I believe, on April the 16th. And you can see where the ministry, well, we're not to call it a job, the ministry, it's taken its toll on him for 8 years. So I think it takes a lot of courage and a lot of stamina. You'll notice that his mind is still very clear. It's the physical body that's wearing down.
Right,
so I have mixed emotions, but I think it's courageous for him to admit, I just can't do this physically anymore.
Right. And you should know that I'm a Catholic as well, but I wanted to ask you, how do you think the members of St. Patrick's Church feel about this? Have you spoken to any of them?
I have, to adults and to students, whether collegians, undergraduate, or graduate from WNL, and the cadets of EMI. It is a mixed bag, if you will. It would be a similar thing. Some are totally shocked or dismayed. Some will say, is he abandoning us? Not saying that he's abandoning us, but is he? And I would say, definitely not. You know, my father retired at age 70. And and then there are others who feel that good for him. He deserves the retirement. He deserves the peace, the meditation, the relaxation. So it's really a combination of feedback and responses at St. Patrick's.
Do you think that, or do you fear that this could be a trend among popes in the future? That I know it's been, since the 13th century that the last pope resigned. Do you feel that this will start a pattern for future popes?
Not necessarily, mainly because Benedict was Joseph Ratzinger, at age 78 when he was chosen, when he was selected. John Paul II, who was Karl Wojtyła, was 58. And you notice that he lasted 25 years, and then Benedict lasted 8 years. Right. It could happen again, but I think that it would be, I'm not a church historian, but a long while before someone would resign again.
Right, of course. And how do you feel about his farewell speech yesterday? He mentioned that his time as Pope were filled with moments of joy and light, but there was also times of difficulty when he said it seemed like the Lord was sleeping. How do you feel about his speech?
Yes, I honestly didn't watch the whole thing because I was called away, but I thought he was very candid. He was very honest.
Right, which is important.
It was not easy for him to step in after a popular pope, and I'm not implying that that Benedict is not popular. As John Paul was the philosopher, Benedict is the theologian. But you'll notice in their backgrounds, they both were college professors. They were university professors.
Right.
So I think his ability to relate to the world and to relate to young adults such as yourself was very good. I mean, he was very professional. I'm glad he did not hide the difficulties or the scandals in the church. And certainly I do not approve. Nobody approves. But in any church or any organization, there was always the human element.
Right.
And but I'm also glad he didn't dwell on that. He didn't cover anything up. But I think we have to deal with those individuals accordingly, but then we have to look to a bright future.
And speaking of the future, I know that I think that they're trying to choose a new pope by Easter, March 31st. Do you have any, what do you think are qualities that are important for the next pope to have? What do you think makes a good pope?
Yes, I think first of all, he would have to be a holy man, not in the sense of praying all the time, but a man of spirituality and integrity.
Okay.
I think when you get to be a cardinal, certainly there is the intelligence level there. I think academically, he would have to fulfill the bill, if you will. And then thirdly, I hope that he would be interested in God's people, because the last two popes certainly reached out to everyone, to all of the nations. And with the internet, and Benedict did bring the Catholic Church up to date with Twitter and Facebook and email.
Posted his last tweet yesterday, I believe.
And everything. That's going to be the church of the future, as well as travel. So I think the qualities of the next pope would be, he probably should be younger. He would be information technology savvy, along with his assistants, and definitely a people person. John Paul, who was the extrovert, Benedict, who was the introvert, but really reached out to people.
Right.
And I think Benedict got the ministry done.
There are some who say that American popes are some of them are very tech savvy. How do you feel about the chance of having an American pope?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Since my childhood, I've always dreamed of an American pope. But as you've noticed on television, whether it's Timothy Cardinal Dolan of New York, or Sean O'Malley of Boston, or Donald Wuerl of Washington, I don't think this is going to happen. The United States is a world power, and to choose somebody from North America or the United States, it probably wouldn't sit well.
Right.
I think we might live to see this time around. There are more Catholics now in South America and in Africa. There is a possibility there could be a Latino pope or an African pope, and we'll see.
Great.
You know.
Well, thank you very much. That's all the time we have. Again, I'm Chelsea Stevenson, and Father Joe, thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.